Good morning. Welcome to Ramblings with Joe. This morning, I'd like to talk about the people we surround ourselves with. It may be the most important situations that we put ourselves in on a regular basis. I had to leave a job because of one person in specific. And leaving that job, I reduced the amount of time I spent with a lot of people I cared about. However, that one person who was so toxic, I had to get away from that person because it was having a negative impact on my life overall. And I believe that the people that I cared about when I was at that job, my attitude was diminishing their life, and I cared about them. I have completely lost touch with most of those people, and I think that's okay. I still care about them. I just don't interact with them anymore. The idea that I would stick out a job and become miserable by surrounding me with people, well, by interacting with one person that made my life miserable, I couldn't see it. I was too close to it. So when that person pushed just a little bit too hard, and I decided that's too much, and I took a step back and looked what was going on, I realized this isn't where I want to be in my life. So I left a very good paying job and I took a chance. And when I left that job, my life changed. I made less money. Financially, I struggled much more. But emotionally, my life opened up and became a much more enjoyable situation. I miss those people that I interacted with on the daily. They were awesome people. We would call and talk to each other constantly, and I miss them. I think their life is better off with me out of their life because my attitude had become so soured by having to interact with a toxic person on the daily basis. I stepped away. It was hard. I really, really liked that particular job, but I wasn't happy. I left. And I took a kind of sabbatical. I helped my community for 3 months, and I wasn't employed for 3 months. And I understood that quite possibly that would hinder me in procuring new employment. It did not. It turns out that post COVID, there are a lot of people who are seeking fulfillment through other avenues other than employment. That was one situation where I thought it was better to leave behind people that I cared about, people that I loved, and make their life better, even though I wasn't the toxic individual. My situation had soured, and I was afraid I was going to become toxic. So, on that front, I didn't want to be the toxic person in a relationship with the other people. And then of course, on a separate front, there might be someone that you love, but at some point you realize this person is toxic and you need to separate yourself from that person. That doesn't mean you don't love that person. Just because you're trying to create an environment of people around you, a community of people around you that are solid, caring, and enhance your life in a good way, doesn't mean you don't love the people that you're not around anymore. Absolutely. You can still love those people and not interact with them. I struggled with this for a bit. I struggled with the idea of cutting people out of my life that I loved because they were toxic. And even though they may not be toxic to everybody, the interpersonal relationship that I had with those people, it was toxic. It was not good for either one of us. And I struggled with the idea that I'm cutting out a person or people who I love very much, who I would do almost anything for, but I had to recognize that these people are not good for me or my family. So I had to leave those people behind. And it hurt, and I grieved. And I think when you do that, you have to grieve because you are losing something that is very important. It doesn't mean that it can never be regained. Perhaps someday both parties can mature and they can come back into each other's lives. That's always kind of a hope on the back burner. But sometimes you have to walk away and recognize that this is just not working, even though you have very strong emotions for those people. It's difficult, but it can be done. And sometimes it is, there's always that grain of hope that you will one day be able to return to a relationship. And those relationships are changed forever when you do this. It's something you have to look at and say to yourself, if I cut this person out because they are toxic, then this will change our relationship forever. Even if the relationship is reconstituted, the relationship will never be the same. And that's kind of the point of cutting toxic people out of your life. So that kind of leads me to a positive aspect of cutting toxic people out of your life. When I left that job that was making me miserable, I went and searched for a job that had a better environment, with people that I meshed with better. With the grace of God and praying and having an open mind and being willing to take a reduction in pay, which is very important to a situation that we all live in. We all have to live within this economy. But having that open mind and being willing to do that led me to an incredibly fulfilling and great environment where I discovered a place that I now consider the best work environment I've ever been in. I didn't just cut out toxic people. I sought out positiveness that would enhance my life for the betterment of myself and my family. And I go to work with joy in my heart almost every day, and still do. I'm still having a fantastic time at this job. And I honestly, now look, I know that 30 years ago this job may have been different. I wish I'd have found this kind of situation 30 years ago. I mean, with the proper environment, there's no telling how much a person can grow. How far a person, I'm getting to see people grow now and do things now that you can't see at other companies, that you don't get to see at other companies, because other companies are all about, not all of them, but I mean the companies that I have been in the past, they've all been about the bottom line, which is important to a company, but that's not all there is. There's a lot more than just earning money. It's people. And those people within that company, the people who you can recognize as people who care about one another, whether they are similar or dissimilar. There are people at this company I don't like personally. I would still do what I need to do for them. There are people at this company that don't like me, and that's okay too. It's just a matter of, is this company overall a non-toxic environment? The answer is yes. This company enhances my life so much that I will probably run this company right to retirement, maybe beyond. I have had conversations within this company about what's next. And what's next may not be driving a truck, but maybe something else. I don't see myself retiring, so we'll see. If you look around and you have some really good friends and you take a step back and you look at these friends and you realize these people are all toxic and you can't find any reason that you want to separate yourself from these toxic individuals, it may be time to do a little bit of soul searching. Because if all you've done is surround yourself with toxic individuals, this may be indicative of something within yourself. There have been points in my life where I have had to look at all the people that I've surrounded myself with and say, wait a minute, what kind of environment am I creating? What kind of person am I becoming within this environment that I've created? And that's a hard time in life when you have to look at yourself and say, is this who I want to be? Are these people my inspiration for who I want to be? And I have literally walked out of a life and left everybody behind. And that is hard, man. You establish a group of people, a support system. We're talking more emotional than financial here. And you have to walk away from the whole thing because the person you're becoming is not the person you want to be. That's difficult. But if it has to happen, I encourage anybody that needs to do that, do it. If you're in that environment and it is creating a person that is, if it's creating someone who you don't want to be, it's time to go. This was back before cell phones. One of the disadvantages of interconnectivity that we have now through cell phones is we can never seem to get away from people. We can never put a stop to it. Just say, I'm done, because that connection is always right there. This, when I looking back on this, when I bailed on that whole situation, when I just said, okay, we just literally picked up and moved, it was phenomenally scary and difficult, enlightening and freeing. There weren't cell phones. We had a home phone, and when we picked up and moved, the home phone changed, and the cutoff was easy then. I think if you were to do that now, you would have to change your number. You'd have to drop your email addresses. That would be so difficult now. I think it's still possible. And I think that I'm sure there are situations where it is needed, where it has to happen. I had never considered that. Are we locked into relationships now because of the interconnectivity? You got Facebook, you've got Instagram, you've got all of these, just your cell phone in general, texting. How hard is it to walk away from that? I mean, how hard is it? I bet that's even worse today. But I bet it's more freeing when you realize if you're in a bad situation and what you need to do is cut all ties. I bet that has even more. It's not even that you're getting more freedom. It's that the realization when you have to walk out on that situation and you are able to cut all ties and you change your email and you change your phone number and you change your, I don't know, all of your social media accounts, and then boom. I bet if you were in a bad situation and you did that, the amount of freedom that you experience at that point must be like a wave of cold water washing over you and cleaning your spirit. We should always seek out people who enhance freedom within our lives, who help grow the maturity of our souls. I don't think we have to be miserable people to be mature and spiritual. I think we can be happy. I think we can make each other smile. One of the biggest joys in my life is when I get together with friends and we make fun of each other. That is a sign. That's a way for people to say I love you without saying the words I love you. And when it's done without malice, when it is done with the true intention of love in one's heart, it can be hysterically wonderful and moving. I have walked away from conversations where the guy has insulted me and gave me what for 5 or 10 minutes, and I just couldn't keep up because he was so on point. And I would walk away laughing and just cracking up and thinking to myself, that's a true friend. And if someone had witnessed that wasn't aware of the culture that I had created around myself, they would think that I was just in an argument with this fellow and that he was giving me hell. When in all actuality, what he was doing for 5 minutes was telling me how much he loved me. He just did it with terms and comedy that not a lot of people would understand. If you're stuck in a situation and it's a bad situation, it's a toxic situation, it is a emotionally distraught situation, you can leave. You can get out. Reach out to somebody if you need help. I'm somebody, if you know me and you're my friend, I'm always willing to help somebody. We don't have to be in a toxic environment. When it's time to walk away and you look around and you realize that the people you are dealing with are the wrong kind of people and they're not enhancing your life, whether they are good people, whether they are people with good intentions or not. That doesn't mean, look, a fish cannot live in this atmosphere. It's toxic to them. That doesn't mean the fish is bad. It's in the wrong place. Likewise, humans can't live in the water. That doesn't mean water's bad. It just means they can't live like that. So if you're in a toxic atmosphere, whether the people are toxic to others or not, you should remove yourself from that particular situation. It is Friday. Oh yeah. Friday. I don't know why Friday brings so many people joy. I mean, I understand that it is the day before Saturday and Sunday, which we typically don't work on. But my gosh, I know that when I'm dealing with people today and I tell them, I hope you have a good weekend, there is joy. There's that spark of joy in their heart already. And that spark of joy, man, all you got to do is just kind of add a little bit of breeze to that spark and you get a full flame of happiness. And it's just a wonderful thing to see. I will tell my customers today, I hope you have a great weekend. And man, you just see their face light up. Some of them have to work on the weekend and they may, there's one stop I'm aware of, and this guy is a very super nice guy. And his coworker, she's really nice too, but they take turns working the weekend, and I can tell which one has to work the weekend and which one doesn't. Just when I walk in, I can see a change in attitude. But man, when they've got the weekend off and I say, hey, you have a great weekend, or, oh, we're right up on that weekend now, we're fixing to be right in the middle of 2 days off, man, those eyes light up and you can see that spark flame up into a full-blown joyous situation. And I think that's because they get to spend more time with the people that they love, and recognizing that in someone, that's an awesome feeling. And that really makes my day better as well, because I get to see that happiness and that joy. And I don't think it has anything to do with not being at work. I think it has to do with spending time with the people you care about. If all you're doing at work is seeking out money, I got to tell you, there's a better way. There's better job environments. At any rate, I really enjoy Fridays. And I think that's why, because I get to see that joy, that spark of joy in people's hearts. And it's so easy to fan the flames up and get them talking about how wonderful the weekend's going to be. It's Friday. And on Friday, we're looking at the weekend. And I hope that you have a fantabulous Friday. My word. I hope you find peace, love, and dream. Until next time, goodbye.